right, I got the cue from Andres Franco. Let's start this, baby.
Let's start it.
I mean,
let's start it up.
Piece of cake, right?
Piece of cake?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake.
All right, well, LAFC thrilling 3-2 victory. The first come-from-behind victory all season. I can't believe I'm saying that. Jen Stradamus, Chicho hat trick. We're going to talk about all of it. This is the 110 Football Instant Reaction Show in partnership with Adidas. You're joining us. We can see the chat this week. So if you guys are chatting with us, I can see it. We can give you shout outs just like I did to Andres. We'll respond to you guys. Who was like, when are we going to get started? And we're going, Andres. So here we go.
Juan, his name is Chicho, and he's the best forward in MLS.
Ooh.
Yeah, hot take. No, it's not a hot take.
Hot take right off the
factual
top.
take.
Well, this is a show where we do some hot takes from time to time. We also do headlines. We do stock up. We do stock down. But right now, I just want to get the raw emotions from this group. Oh, by the way, let me introduce who's with us. Jessica Black is back. Jen Munoz, Connor Kolopsis, my all-star team, and their undefeated team as of late. Undefeated in this season within the season. Perfect 2 for 2. So raw, unadulterated, uncut emotions. Connor, I'll explain what that means, uncut, to you another time. Jessica, what are you feeling? You've been taking a lot of notes, and I know that you've got a lot that you're holding in. You're saving it for this show. So what do you got?
What an unnecessarily exciting game for LAFC. We had, a comeback, a hat trick. VAR was a part of at least 2 of those goals, I think. And it was just so unnecessarily exciting because I don't think Dallas played well. I think we made it way harder than we needed to, you know what I mean? But we got the win. It was a cup final. We won our second one in a row, and we put this one behind us and we move on. But it was unnecessarily exciting, but I'm happy that at least it went in our favor,
What's the only thing that matters in a cup final?
It should win.
I couldn't agree more. I think we all have probably 3 gray hairs by the end of the game.
If I had some hair, I would.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe my beard.
Point. I think Connor needs a ventilator.
As T-Pain would say, all I do is win.
I was really hoping.
I think it's DJ Khaled, isn't it?
No. Well, no, DJ Khaled is the one who's a DJ Khaled, and then T-Pain is the one who's singing on DJ Khaled.
So this show has gone from instant reaction to Shazam. Let's get back to Jen. Jen, raw. You're describing Connor's emotion. Where are you at? Because you were actually another very stoked person while Connor was going just absolutely nuts in the corner while we were watching the game. So how were you holding it in? Were you just trying to make sure he wasn't going to hurt anyone?
First, definitely keeping an eye on Connor, but at the same time, I was just really just praying that they didn't get that last, random lucky goal in. But I'm so thankful that we got the win. Like you said, that's all that matters right now.
Yeah, this isn't your first LAFC rodeo. We're used to a little bit of heartbreak, especially when you see like 6 minutes and there's no subs and guys are out of gas. We're yelling at Latif to go close down a ball, but he absolutely can't move.
They're not going to the corners at all.
Yeah, they're trying to score the goal instead of going to the corners when it's, look.
They forgot how to play for a bit.
Well, score goals when you can in those moments, but like if the corner's there, take it and kill off the game.
They never went to the corner.
All right, Connor, what do you got?
As a headline?
No.
Or just as an opening?
Just your raw emotions. Or did you get all?
Well, I think everyone can agree on the chat. Like, let me know. Like, this was probably one of the most roller coaster of emotions. All the way into halfway through the second half, I was like, we're not making playoffs. This is like some of the worst football I've actually seen LAFC ever played from that first half into the first half of the second half. And somehow, we got our first comeback win of the season, something that is not a characteristic of LAFC, not something they really do too often. So I'm very shocked, very excited. We were all screaming upstairs watching the game, but, we have to dissect that performance a little bit more. I'm glad Chicho scored the goals when we needed it. We finished our chances when we got in front of goal, and that, at the end of the day, got us the result. So
Chicho's the easy one, right? Chicho's the easy one. We can definitely go into Chicho's very easy. I'm looking at the chat. A lot of people are asking about Jose Cifuentes before we go into headlines. So Jose Cifuentes, with one of the things we are going to talk about is the changes that Bob Bradley made, and he made them quick in this game. The hook was quick in this game, so he got to those changes. But when he made those changes, Jose Cifuentes, I believe, was playing the 6 for a lot of that game, a role that probably doesn't suit him much. Jessica, what were your takes on Jose Cifuentes?
It doesn't suit him the best, but he was the best person on the day to play that role. I think he's the only one with the tools from our midfield, group that could actually do it. And so I think maybe his performance suffered a little bit from that because he's playing in a position that he's not really used to. But I do think with the rotating amount of midfielders that he had to play with in this game, I think he did pretty well. I'm willing to give Sifu a little bit of like a hard day for you, because I still think he worked hard and he was frustrated towards the end of the half. I think because the guys that he was playing with, Raheem, some of Latif at some points, just weren't really doing the business. So, Sifu didn't have a great game, but he was out of position. So you kind of got to give him a little bit of slack for that.
Well, multiple times in that match, you could audibly hear Bob Bradley yell, forward, forward, forward. And I thought Jose Cifuentes was one of the players looking to go forward, but a lot of times didn't have options. Jen, you've played central midfield. The 6 is a position that's often misunderstood by a lot of people because they believe it just should be somebody that's just a destroyer, breaks players down, wins balls back. But you know that there's a lot more to it. So how difficult is it when you're more of a, let's say, a free-flowing kind of hybrid attacker, and then you're told, hold it down? And hold it down alone. No partner, just hold it down.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hardest things as an attacking player, being told, just hold. But I also think he's a very smart player, and I think there was a lot of gaps in the game within obviously the LAFC team, but I do think that he held his ground a good amount. But yeah, it is really difficult being out of your comfort zone, and it definitely affects you a lot.
All right, so the chat, like I said, we can see you. There's your Jose Cifuentes.
Big Duke
chat.
fans.
People were asking about that. People were talking a lot about Sifu, I guess, because that's where we were going into it.
Someone said LAFC bingo is rigged.
Hey, you got to talk to somebody else. That is not my pay grade. But what is my pay grade is moving this show along. So let's go to headlines. Connor Kalopsis, what was your headline from this match?
My headline for the match was terrible day for LAFC. I think although we got a win.
A little bit of a misleading headline, no?
Okay, look, I'm excited. I'm so happy that we were able to get 3 points. And I don't want to take away from that team the grit and the resilience to be able to still push forward, even 2-1 down, even playing as bad as you were and still being able to get those 2 goals to end up winning it. A lot of that's on Chicho. But the entire 90 minutes of the game, it was like, I'll say it, I said it before, I'll say it again, it's some of the worst football I saw from LAFC all season. And on top of that, this is at one of the most crucial points of the season, and for us to be playing like we did, we were all very, I wouldn't say overly confident, but we were confident enough after that San Jose win that we could come into Dallas and at least put on a good show and get the 3 points, do the job, and not play bad football, but it was sloppy, just the little things. Mm-hmm. It was the little things, just being able to trap the ball, turn, out of pressure, and play a good pass, play a pass that actually gets to your man. Mm-hmm. Running the ball to the corner at the end of the match. Like, there were just all these little things that weren't clicking. The team seemed just not on the same page, and it was so sloppy, and it was very frustrating to watch. And there was a little hope, but then Chicho stepped up and he got a win. But I'm not optimistic at all going into the next stretch of games, even after this win, because if we're still playing like this, I don't see us being able to consistently maintain results with that.
Well, obviously, if they're playing exactly like this, but I'll throw it out to the group. End of the day, does it matter when you get the 3 points? It seems like, to your point, with this team, we don't know really what to expect on the day. So as bad as they were, they could very well be just as good the next go around. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll throw it out to you guys. How do you guys feel? Do you feel less excited about the match in Minnesota despite the win now because of this, or what?
No, for me, not exactly, because with LAFC, you're going to get a Jekyll and Hyde type of thing. Some days we play like prime Barcelona, and then the next day we act like we've never seen a soccer ball in our lives, So for me, the most important thing at this point is getting results. And I think the performances in terms of like giving 110% are there, which is what you need in the season within a season. I think we're kind of past the point of like, how are we playing? I think we're at the point of like, just get the points on the board. And I have a weird feeling that we'll play better against Minnesota now that we've kind of gotten this really bad performance out of our way, or because sometimes you just got to get that ugly one out of, I think that one was always kind of like, It was in the post. It was coming. Mm-hmm. We got out of the way. We got the points. So for me, I'm not as worried. It's weird because before the game, you were really positive. Now you're more negative. I was more negative. Now I'm more positive.
Can I just say it's weird? I mean, I think we all can understand LAFC has been so inconsistent this season. Yeah. And to Vince's point, you don't know what to feel anymore because each game you feel confident coming into it. The team just plays like crap. And then the team plays like crap. The next game, they play out of their minds and get a good result. And so, like, it's probably one of the most stressful, anxiety-inducing things that I've ever had to do this year is watch LAFC just bop, 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 bop.
Agree more. I think, like, also, I love what you said about the little things. I think at this point, the little things are so crucial and they matter every step of the way. But at the same time, you don't know what you're going to get this year or before each game. But that's what makes it exciting. That's what soccer is about. But also, it definitely gives us some stress. But overall, I do think the little things really do matter. And I couldn't agree more.
And I just wanted to say, lastly, that I'm happy that we were able to string together a win. We haven't done that all season. LAFC is not a team that if they play bad, they're able to get a result. Yeah. Most teams around MLS, they play bad, they're able to get a result. And we got our first come from behind win, even with a very scrappy game. And so you have to hand it to LAFC to be able to do that. It's rare for us to do that, and I'm very happy that we were able to at least do that once.
Well, look, it's okay to be happy but critical. I guarantee you the coaching staff will have quite a lot to say. And they're going to go straight from Dallas to Minnesota, so they have quite the trip to say it on. Maybe not the time to have a bad performance in front of Bob Bradley when you know that you're going to be spending a lot of time with him. But let me say something to bring maybe everyone's stress level down just a little bit. Portland is up 1-0 against Vancouver.
But the Galaxy is up 3-0 against Houston.
Understand, but I'm just saying, after a weekend where absolutely no results went your way, they get the win, they get it out of their system, coming from behind, and as of right now, a result is actually going your way.
I just want to give a shout out to Art Sanchez for just always giving good comments. You're probably the best commenter out there.
Well, and I'll say to Francisco Serrano, who's in the chat, who asked if we do this at the stadium, we do. We used to do it right at the landing at Free Play. We've moved up in the world. We now have a booth inside the stadium. But after every match, we are here for you guys right here on 110's YouTube channel, and you can check it out. How's that for a plug? All right. Now, Jen, I need your headline from this match.
Mine would be Chicho the Magician, because hat trick, he got the deed done. I said it earlier.
You called it.
You predicted it. You said Chicho hat trick.
You could go ahead and brag.
I called it, guys.
It.
No, Chicho the Magician, easy as that.
So, Chicho the Magician, we've been going on and on about how poorly LAFC played. When you have a magician-type player that can just pull you up by the scruff of your neck, what does that do to a team? It's got to give you just that little bit of confidence that maybe we can win some more games when we're behind early.
Yeah, for sure. I think it gives the team that confidence, and especially up top, I think this whole season it's been such a hit or miss with the chances, and I think he put them away, whether it was lucky, unlucky. They got those 3 points, and he's doing what he needs to do.
I just want to say I disagree with Jen, and here's why.
Why? She got it right.
Jen, Chicho is not the magician. Chicho is the assassin. He's a stone-cold killer. He had those 3 chances to score.
What if he was a magician assassin? Now we got a movie going here.
Chicho the magician. He's the next Marvel superhero.
Oh my goodness.
No?
No.
Okay.
That's more
Sorry.
like a Western.
Or he should be his own anime because he's into that stuff.
He is into anime.
So they
well,
can do
I'm going to ask you guys, what is he doing different? I feel like we've talked about LAFC creating chances, and they're good quality chances. We have players like Carlos Vela. We had Diego Rossi, Brian Rodriguez at times. Is he just that much of a better finisher?
He's just been clinical since he's come. Like, I feel like he's been, except for maybe the first game that he played, where I felt like he was deferring to Carlos Vela. Ever since then, he's been just very clinical in front of goal, getting in good positions. He does miss the odd chance, but most strikers miss more than they make, so that's a natural thing. And I feel like he takes winning and being a leader very serious, especially with the absence of really big players. And he's just a typical striker that takes his chances when he needs to. And I think this is probably one of the best transfers we could have had at the most crucial times in our season, because if he wasn't here, just imagine where we'd be, So I don't think it's that he's so much better. I just think that this is his vibe. This is his thing. He's a striker. That's what he does.
Well, good point about the transfer, and obviously the goals are obvious, but Connor, is he everything you would have wanted as a player? Like, was that was the exact type player that LAFC needed?
100%. And as Diego Rossi has left the club, I think I think Chicho has actually filled that spot, and if not, actually been better than Rossi. I think Rossi earlier in the season, he was kind of on the downhill spiral. He wasn't kind of finishing chances consistent. I mean, he was our top scorer earlier on in the season. Don't get me wrong, but he wasn't playing up to the standard that we would have hoped. And that being said, Chicho has come in, he's filled Rossi's boots, and he's actually been like, he's going off. He's a stone cold killer, an assassin, a wrong goat. I like who said that.
No, I think
That's a good
a
one.
wrong goat.
Juan. El Sicario.
El Sicario, a wrong goat.
Which is great movie too. I like that, and I think to your point about Diego Rossi, who I think is very durable. He does do some of the dirty work. Arango goes just that extra step farther and really puts himself out there, like he did to score that goal. I mean, he paid the price. Hopefully that Charlie horse he picked up is not too bad. We got to hear Dr. Heath Pierce diagnose it as a contusion. So maybe, but hopefully he'll be back. Normally those things, they take a day to wear off, but hey, you never know. And this team has had some injury problems. Jessica, what was your headline from this match?
We avoided the banana skin. That's my headline. I think that we made tough work of it, but at the end of the day, we got the points. And I think somebody that needs a really big mention here is Bob Bradley for his early subs, because I don't know if you guys have ever watched cartoons and you've seen one of the characters slipping on a banana peel and they're just slipping. It's taking forever for them to fall. We were that cartoon character. We were slipping and Bob stepped straight in and settled us. And I think making those two changes with Raheem and Bryce Duke really changed our ability to get control over the midfield, because that's really where we were losing the game. Now, whether or not Raheem really,
we're going to talk more about
Raheem, but I do think that was the right move, and that's what you want from a veteran type of coach like Bob Bradley. I mean, there's been so much pressure on him this season, like Bob out. This is why you have a coach like Bob. He made the right decision at the right time that saved us from inevitably slipping on that banana skin and maybe making our chances of making the playoffs just that much harder.
Yeah, gutsy move, right?
Connor.
Very good. I'm reading the chat.
They're talking about how great you are in the chat. I get it. But
I need the ego boost.
Gutsy move, because you pointed out when we were upstairs. It's like,
I mean,
he doesn't make subs soon enough.
But what does that say to Marco Farfan and Daniel Crisostomo?
You got to be better.
I mean, it does, but what does that do to a player's confidence?
Does it matter?
At this point, I don't think it does.
But if the players have to play, let's say Marco Farfan or Daniel Crisostomo have to play against Minnesota, you think they're going to be very excited to do that?
They should, because they're getting paid to play for LAFC. Like, that's your job. Like, if at this point you didn't do your job and you get snatched out at the 25th minute, it's your job to say, you know what, I didn't do a good job, and make it up. Like, you let your team down, and I think it's a switch of the mindset a little bit, not the I'm a victim, I got taken out, let me sulk. It's let me step up because I let my team down. That's what I would hope, especially based on what Latif said before the game. You need to be ready to play, and if you're not, they're going to get on you. It's up to them to show that they can be a part of this team moving forward, because I think they let the team down, and that's why Bob took them out.
I will say Bob Bradley did make that amazing choice. It was gutsy, but it paid off. Keep in mind that we still went 2-1 down after those changes, and it still wasn't the best football after those changes. Keep in mind, it was better than what it was before, and we got a little more control in the midfield. Bryce Duke really helped out, pushing the team forward, getting away from his man, and really just starting counters. But even then, just from LAFC overall, still wasn't the prettiest football, but gotta...
Well, before we go too far on the changes, I want to go back to that point real quick, because we do have the pro here. I'm sure you never were subbed out 25 minutes into a match, but if you were, or you want to throw someone else under the bus, share a little insight on what goes through a player's mind. We even saw Brian Rodriguez come out, not early in the match, but he was upset. I kind of like that, a player that's like a little bit upset, and I think coaches somewhat understand that, but talk to me about those players that came out very early in the match.
Yeah, I think as a coach, from a coaching standpoint, our coaches said many times over the years, like, they do that for a reason, and every player knows if you're being taken out that early, you're not doing your job. And at this level, you have to just overcome that. You have to change your mindset and say, hey, I'm going to come back next game and work even harder to show you that I need to be on the field a lot longer, and I'm going to make a bigger difference. So that's the way I usually thought of it. I've obviously gotten taken out, early in the games, and I just thought, hey, I'm going to show him and show everyone else that I deserve to be on that field. And at this point, it's do or die. It's playoffs are on the line, so that should be their mentality.
Was it better if the coach, because sometimes you get a coach that is willing to go the extra mile and say, look, I understand you're upset. This is why I had to do it. Not to make any excuses for you. Or is it better for the coach to just leave you alone? Because, like you said, everyone knows why they came out in that moment. So what was the winning combination for you?
I think it's I think if a coach has to tell you, then you're clearly not at that maturity level, or it's normal for like Brian to get mad. I would get mad as well, but hopefully that lights a fire in him to come back even stronger the next game.
Because I think there's a case to be made that, as Kat said, Chicho and Moose plays a little bit better than Chicho and B-Rod. So if B-Rod as our DP is not playing as good as Danny Musovski, that you really hope that lights a fire inside of him to want and to really try to be a little more clinical and better.
Well, we're starting to dive in a little bit more to what player performances were. So that leads us kind of right into stock rising. Jen, go ahead and give me your stock rising. If it was a player or something in the match, what was your stock rising?
Big fan of Bryce Duke. Love the way he plays right from the start, right as he entered. Like Jess said, he changed the game, changed the whole midfield, and that's what we needed. I think Connor also mentioned during the game, the way he just turns out of pressure and goes forward helped so much during the game, and I think that's what we needed, to just go forward. I think we just kept playing back a lot of the time, and that's how we got either intercepted or whatnot. But yeah, I think Bryce Duke is my stock rising.
Forward, right?
Yeah.
But I would agree and say, but also his ability to turn so quickly, not just out of pressure, but being able to drop the shoulder and fake out a defender and then literally creating your own space to go forward. He did that multiple times this game, and he was a big reason, like Jen said, why we were able to get 3 points today.
Yeah, I mean he was my stock rising as well. I don't think anybody could have watched him come into that game and not notice like right away the technical security and the control that we had in the midfield once he came on. And I kind of written on my notes in the dark point in the game where I didn't know if we were going to win or not, just to give something a little bit more positive. I think with Sifu and Bryce Duke, you have 2/3 of a really strong LAFC midfield for the future. That's 2/3 of the way there. I don't think you need to look any further than those two. I think they play off of each other, and Bryce Duke in particular has something really special about him. He plays a lot like Frankie de Jong for me, for Barcelona, and that says a lot because, I mean, he's only like 20,
Yeah.
and he was excellent. He was excellent. I mean, some of the through balls that he was playing through, he was getting us up the pitch. I mean, he was exactly what we needed, and that was the first game that I watched that I saw sparks. Like, you saw them a lot earlier than I did, but this was the game that really made me like, oh, I need to watch this kid. I can't wait to look at his statistics. I bet he was excellent.
Oh yeah, and his vision on the field too. I mean, his self-awareness is so key as a center mid, and I think it definitely helped a lot.
Yeah.
But also his confidence. He, as a young player, to come into a team, especially being subbed on in the 20th minute, not only are you taking out a teammate, but you're coming on with expectations to be better than they were, to try to help the team. And not for one moment did he shy away from taking on a player one-on-one. Did he not shy away from making those tough decisions, those tough balls? So you love it from a 20-year-old central midfielder.
Well, because he was your stock rising also, let's just expand on Bryce a little bit more. And I don't want to, it's a stock rising, so I'm not trying to be negative here. But when Bryce struggles, it's when the game gets a little bit more physical. Sure. There's bigger players on the pitch. And that's not to say he can't survive. Xavi is probably the same size as Bryce Duke.
Yeah.
So in what ways can Bryce take his game even to that next level, to where Bob Bradley does look at him and say, man, you are 2/3 of my midfield. I just need someone to hold, in behind you. What ways can he up his game?
I just think he needs to hit the gym. I don't think he's at his physical peak yet. I mean, if we're honest, he's like 20 years old. I think at some point, like, if he gets in the gym, he will buff up a little bit more. You don't actually have to be tall. Like, even players like Mo Salah are like probably like 5'6", but they're stronger than everybody else. So I think he'll be something like that. But the most important thing for me with midfield balance is if you have somebody like a Bryce Duke who's not that physically imposing, then you want to have a Sifu and maybe another more physical player in behind to protect him. You could say like somebody like Atuesta, but I'm leaning more towards like.
We've heard Atuesta is
Mark Anthony Kay. Yeah, Mark Anthony.
pretty Well, Mark Anthony Kay is much rangier than Atuesta, and obviously has a physical presence, longer legs, has a range. But we've heard Edward Atuesta is quite feisty in the tackle in training of all places. So, I mean, he's...
Yeah, I think you can protect Bryce Duke with other players and get that balance. But, I mean, ultimately what you want him there for is that technical security moving. And his decision-making is so good. You can tell he has football IQ on him. And he was so good. He was so good. I want to see a compilation of just his touches because I think he was excellent.
Well, Jan, I'm sure that there was teams in Mexico that were like renowned for having a midfield that's maybe not there to play as much as to really put you under pressure, to get you off your game, to maybe those little tackles and the little extras. So what did you do to either find space or at least just keep your head in the game knowing that, like, all right, today I may be physically just slightly below these, but I still need to play my game?
Yeah, I think that actually was probably one of my biggest struggles back in Mexico, was just that physicality aspect. I think technically I was all there, just like Bryce was, but like Jess said, it does influence you a lot, your physical attributes. It definitely makes it a lot harder to even just, get out of your mark or stuff like that, header in the air balls. And I really do think that with Bryce, like Jess said, hits the gym. Also, I also think if he uses his voice a lot more, it can also give him more confidence on the field and just make more of those game-changing plays.
Whatever Noah Beck's given Bryce Duke, just keep feeding him. It's been great so far.
Do you know who Noah Beck is?
I do know who
Are you
Noah
that
Beck is.
old?
I'm
man?
sorry.
Are you that
Unfortunately,
old?
no, I do know who Noah Beck is, and I know that he's good friends with Bryce Duke. And I've noticed that Bryce has been posting pictures of the food he's been eating. It looks like he has a diet somewhat like yours. So
I know. I don't know.
I would say
It's the
if
Jack
you
in
are
the
going
Box
to continue to
diet.
eat like that, Bryce, make sure you get in that gym. Connor, what was your stock rising?
I think there's a lot to be said about Bob Bradley and his tactical changes. We're talking about those substitutes a lot, but I still think just because the setup from the get-go wasn't too good, I would take off a couple coaches' points for that. But still, got to give credit where it's due. I'm going to say stock rising Danny Musovski.
A lot of people in the chat are debating whether Danny should be a starter and or a super sub. Where is he for you then?
Define super sub.
Exactly what he did today.
And I mean,
Basically,
I don't.
he's the guy that at the 60th minute, I'm making a change. It's probably going to be Danny. No matter what the game, no matter where the game's going, he's one of the first guys off the bench.
I mean, I just think for a player of his caliber to be kind of playing out of his depth right now against San Jose, he had a phenomenal performance. Could have easily had more than just the one goal that he scored, and now playing the way he did, feeding that ball to Chicho as a forward. If I get that ball, I'm gonna shoot it, and I'm surprised that he didn't. But he had the awareness to pick his head up, just little dink to Arango, and then we score, and then it's 2-2. So I think Danny Musovski, there is a case to be made for him to be a starter. He got benched this game, some might say unfairly, and so he came and kind of showed Bob Bradley, hey, don't bench me.
Well, we talked about in pregame. He probably could have felt himself to be wronged by Bob Bradley to be not starting this game. So how were you feeling now on the Moose?
Yeah, I don't think he deserved to be dropped in the first place. And as much as I like Brian Rodriguez, I don't think he justified his start today. I don't think that he did enough. And when somebody comes on and just changes the game, runs their socks off, makes actual changes in terms of end product, assists and things like that, it makes it really difficult for somebody who's not doing that to keep their spot. I know Brian was upset, but I do think that Moose deserves to start the next game. And then you can see if he justifies his start, and what we have is competition for places, which is the most important thing when you're going into a run of games where you're going to need your entire squad. Everybody needs to have that fire in their belly. And a good way to do that is to create that inner squad competition. I don't think there's anything really wrong with that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think Moose is really up for it. We'll see if Brian Rodriguez is up for it.
But I'll just say the biggest thing for me, whether it's Bryce Duke or whether it's Danny Musovski, is consistency. These players do have the bright spots here and there, but there's been some games that Danny Musovski doesn't show up. There's been some games that Bryce Duke, he lacks that physicality, doesn't show up. So if they're able to use this to their advantage and continue to put in performances like this, then the conversation will really start about whether or not they should be starting week in, week out, and whether or not they should be, like the future of LAFC.
Well, it's the hottest topic in the chat right now is whether or not Danny Musovski should be a starter next game, and we'll find out soon enough because that next game comes very quick. It's on Saturday in Minnesota. We'll be there. I'll be there.
And there might
Minnesota.
be some other people available.
Yeah, there may be some other people available, some people flying in from Los Angeles. You never know.
Carlos.
Maybe Carlos Vela, maybe Edward Atuesta. Shout out to Edgar, who said Bryce Duke needs to get on the Fernando Torres workout.
Yeah, did you see that photo?
That's a good call there, Edgar. If you haven't seen Fernando Torres lately, please Google him and check out how jacked he is. But let's go to our stock falling. I'm going to go back to you, Connor. Let's go with your stock falling first.
Where do I start?
Where do you start? Maybe
Where
this is
do
when
I
the chat's
start?
gonna heat up again. Stock falling.
Yeah, let's get heated up a little bit, guys. It was a good win. There were some good performances, but overall, it was still not a pretty game. Those 2 goals that Chicho scored at the end of the match, that changed this whole conversation.
Right.
This whole conversation would be much different. The entire chat would be much different, very negative. So let's get into that a little bit. I think this case we made maybe Jamal Blackman, maybe Marco Farfan, maybe Daniel Cristofomo, but
Could you just give me one?
I'm going to say Raheem Edwards.
Okay.
I continue to pick on him a little bit, and I know, and I
Clearly
know
won a penalty when he came in.
he did, and I know that a lot of people admire and really like his energy, his passion, his fight to get it back, and that's good. But when fundamentally you're not all there, that fight means nothing. I was hoping that Danny Musovski was actually going to come on for Raheem Edwards, even though Raheem Edwards came on as a sub. I thought that throughout the game, there were numerous moments where I was talking about the little things. He wasn't able to trap the ball. He loses possession. When there's no one on him, he doesn't make a pass that goes to his man. Most of those things I was talking about earlier were all on Raheem. And I'm not saying this is once or twice. This was numerous times. He lost possession for LAFC when there was no man on him. And on top of that, the end product of stuff isn't there. And I'm not saying he's the worst player ever, but he continues to drop down. And I just think mentally, he's prepared to be on this level of a team, but physically and technically, it's not good enough for him to be consistently playing for a team that we want to be at our highest standards.
Raz gonna Raz.
Raz is gonna Raz,
that's
but then it gets
thing.
frustrating.
I
It
know,
really
of
gets
course.
frustrating.
Look, you know me. I'm big on positional play, on technical play.
Position was bad
things
too.
that Raz is not big on.
At the end of the game, he was just floating around that number 10 spot.
Yeah, it was weird.
What
to
was
see
he
him
doing?
Trying to play 10.
Anyway, but that game is perfect for him because it's scrappy. There's no
There's no rhyme or reason to that game.
there is no rhyme or reason to it, and so he. Oh my God, it was so frustrating.
All right.
Anyway,
well,
you can move on.
Connor's got Raheem. The people in the chat are really heating up one, so I'm wondering if you guys are
Okay,
going to hit on the one that they're heating up on.
I just want to say, I do not hate Raheem.
Connor actually loves Raheem a lot.
I was the
Yeah.
biggest supporter of Raheem
was.
before he even played a game. I'm a casual Toronto FC supporter, so him coming back to LAFC after getting traded to Montreal, I was so happy because at Toronto FC he played great, but just again the product on the field.
Unfortunately, there's been how many years between when he played at Toronto FC and here now?
Way too many. He played one game for Chicago, one game for Minnesota, one game for Montreal, and then found his way here and has played like 10 plus games.
Nice homecoming to Minnesota for him.
Anyway.
Jessica, what was your stock falling? You did mention Raheem. Do you want to stick with that? Should we continue to talk about Raheem? Or?
The one thing I do want to say about Raheem is that I've never seen a player hit the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in one game.
Right.
I've just never seen
Sometimes
that in my
within like the
life.
span of minutes.
Yeah, it was just, I've never seen anybody plummet in that way. And I just feel like he just did himself such a disservice because he was in my little stock rising. And then I just jotted him down in stock falling because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But we've already kind of went through that, and I don't want to go in on him too much because we kind of know what his limits are.
And we love Raz.
But yeah, exactly. I like his
Maybe
fight.
we've given
and
him a
all of
nickname.
that,
Yeah, Raz.
you know. And he
dream.
did help us get the penalty and all of that. But what I will say is that I don't want to pick on Jamal Blackman too much, but I just think LAFC goalkeeping all in all is not good enough and up to the standard. I don't think we have a goalkeeper that feels like a number one. He was not commanding to me. I don't really think that. I think he's number one by default because we're not really sure on Romero. And for him to come, I know that he was on the books at Chelsea, but to come like from that environment and then to come here, 6'7", not commanding your box, really shaky, not really giving the back line that solidity. and it's not just him. It's also like, would I have felt better with Romero? Probably not.
Right.
I think in general, we need to find a goalkeeper that's up to the standard of what LAFC wants to be doing, as Connor said. Like, Raheem's not really the type of player that's hitting those levels for us. Neither is our goalkeeper.
Yeah.
We have to be honest with that, you know?
Can I ask you this? So LAFC currently has 3 goalkeepers on the roster: Pablo Cisniega, Thomas Romero, and Jamal Blackman. I'll do 2 questions. One being, who would you start? If
Why
you
do you
could
always
pick?
take over the show like you're hosting it?
Who would you pick to start
Of the 3?
of the 3?
She just said she has no confidence in 0.
I really
But
don't.
if you had to come down and actually make the decision,
I think it's a more interesting question of who I'm going to put in front of them, like to
Yeah.
protect them, because I feel all of them have flaws. I did not have a big issue with Romero, and since Blackman has come in, I haven't felt anything like my feelings about goalkeepers have not went up. It's just kind of been the same. So for me, it's like, who can protect these goalkeepers, because they are not up to the level, and it feels yucky saying it, but it's just not. It's not feeling with me with that kind of like, we got a good goalkeeper.
and my second parter would be, out of those 3 goalkeepers, how many stay come into next season?
All right, you're asking too many questions. Jen was going to hop in there. She had something to go off of what Jessica was saying.
I think my stock falling. I hate doing this. First off, I hate being, everyone.
Oh, come
tries
on.
really
You're the
hard.
former pro.
But
Let's
I know,
go. Hammer them.
but
You're the only one
I
that can
do
really do
Negative.
it.
The back line in the first half, and I think it maybe goes off of what Jess is saying, who are we going to put in front of our goalies to defend that? And I think there's a lack of initiative and a lack of intensity. And I think in the second half, they showed that heart, they showed that passion to win the game. But I definitely think in the first half, it was like everyone was just like a step behind. And I'm not sure, a lot of people in the chat are talking about Jamal, but at the same time, maybe he wasn't, using his voice to kind of direct them.
Well, that's where I was going to go with this. So you have your back line not being organized. You're talking about a commanding performance from a goalkeeper. And I'm reading the chat too, and all I'm seeing is about didn't dive for the first goal, didn't run back when it hit the post. All right, the first goal, he's unsighted on that. Look, keepers, if you guys want him to dive for the cameras, the camera dive, fine. If that makes you feel better. He's not saving it anyways. Yeah, okay, maybe you run back on the one, but in his mind, it's either going over the net, it's going in the net. You never really think it's going to hit the crossbar, and they lucked out anyways. The bigger point, and I really agree with you on this one, and it goes into your point, is commanding. Who is the goalkeeper that owns his box, owns his defenders, owns the team in front of him? Jamal has not been that for me. I had the pleasure of speaking with him, and he was very soft-spoken for a 6'7" guy. Seems to be very easygoing, and that's fine. But then I don't see it when he comes on the pitch that there's a different guy. He did tell us he is a different person when he gets on the pitch. I have not quite seen that, and we haven't seen him really race off his line. He just seems very unsure, and I'm wondering from both of you, do you think that maybe the defense is really suffering too by not having a goalkeeper that kind of puts him in the position to block shots or stop shots before it even happens? He sees the whole field, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as a defender, you want to feel like the person behind you can give you a good picture of what's going on, because sometimes you're looking at markers and things like that, and he has the full picture, and if he's not communicating that, it's just making it more confusing back there. And what I see is when we get under pressure, it just feels like our back line just keeps backing up, and they're all crunched on top of each other in the box. If he commanded his box just a couple of times, people would stop coming in there. But I feel like we're susceptible to those little jumbly goals that happen when you don't command your box. And that's not good when, he's 6'7", come on, like smash a dude or two. Like even if you have to knock over Murillo and fall, do it. But yeah, I think they're suffering from a little bit of leadership in the back, from their goalkeeper.
I will say, I want to give a shout out to Kevin, because he said, was never a problem when Segura and Zimmerman were starting at center back.
That is not true.
What do you mean?
Tyler Miller still sees the ghost of Zlatan Ibrahimovic in his dreams.
In his dreams?
It definitely is not true. Actually, answer your own question. Which of the 3 are you bringing back?
I'm just bringing back Romero. Letting Cisniega go. His time is up with the club. I just don't see a reason to keep him around if he's just going to be bench warming the whole time. Jamal, not good enough to be our number one. Not good enough. Not bad enough to sit on the bench. So Romero's the only reasonable option to keep around, kind of as a competition. And then you in the off season, you have to look for a real number one. LAFC has had how many off seasons now? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 off seasons to look for a true number one goalkeeper. Haven't found one yet.
What do you think the biggest difference is between the two goalies?
Between Jamal and Romero?
Yes.
Just height.
Well, other than the obvious.
How do you measure yourself? By height?
That feels like pretty much the biggest thing is really because neither of them are commanding. Neither of them are particularly amazing with their feet. They're both kind of shy off of their line. Like I don't see very much difference that would make like, okay, this one does this and this one does that. And I think that's the issue is that we're needing something and neither of them really have it. And that's just what I see.
I'd also say that Jamal Blackman is relatively slower, not up here, but like physically.
Yeah.
There was too many times when, you expect your goalkeeper to run out and grab the ball, and then the opposition almost grabs it. That should be a clear-cut chance where he just grabs it, not to worry, and then, kick it, clear it, run. It's just not fast, and it's not good when LAFC's goal is to play sweeper keeper, and he's just like jogging the whole time.
Yeah, he does need a little, like we said, be more commanding, come off his line quicker. This has been way too much goalkeeper talk for my preference. I think we've covered a lot of the bases. We got our headlines, we got our stock up, we got our stock falling. So let's just go to our final thoughts. Let's be kind of quick with this because we really have beaten this one to death. And like we said, it's every game from here on out is a cup final. Really, it's only the result that matters. But Jen, do you have a final thought coming out of this game and going into Minnesota?
Final thought, I would just say, from myself, I'm a big fan of Bryce Duke, always been, I've called it. Also, I just really have high hopes for the team. I think, although it's a little scrappy, I think it's going to make them fight even harder to, clean up their soccer a little bit and just find that heart to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Jessica?
I guess my final thought would be second cup final, we won, put it behind you, and kind of my sidebar would be if we could find a way to get Atuesta, Sifu, and Bryce Duke playing in that midfield against Minnesota, I back us to win that game. I just feel like that's a midfield that could do it for us, and we usually win and lose the game in the midfield. To me, I feel like if we don't have the right combination in there, we usually struggle, and that's what I want to see. So, Bob, if you're watching this, wrap Atuesta up however you need to, get Sifu going, and bring in Bryce Duke. I don't want to see anybody else start but him because he should keep his spot.
Bob, if you're watching this, they put me up to this. I never wanted to do. No, I'm kidding.
Bob, if you're watching this, I love you.
Of course. Connor, your final thought?
My final thought, put this one behind you. It was a really bad game. We were this close to calling the season tonight. So put this game behind you. Just focus on Minnesota. One game at a time. Jessica saying, every game's a cup final. We won this one somehow. Let's win the next one.
All right, we're about to get out of here. Before I give you guys the schedule, I just want to whip around one real quick time. I need predictions. Jen, do we beat Minnesota?
Oh, yeah, we have to ask Jen because she's the god at predictions now.
Yes.
Yes. I won't ask for a score yet. Jessica?
Yeah, we'll win.
It's going to be a draw. Yep.
And on that bombshell, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. That's been great. Let's take a look at the schedule real quick for the rest of the week. Friday is the big show. That's the 110 football show. We'll be covering the San Jose match. We're going to be covering Minnesota with some good breakdowns of the highlights as well as some tactical stuff with Connor and I at the board. Saturday, away days, I'll be in Minnesota with Jerry. Tuesday, Max and Vince podcast is back, as well as we are back at LAFC at the bank taking on Seattle. Jeez, the games are coming thick and fast, guys. Like we said, 2 cup finals down, 2 in the bag, 4 to go.
4 to go.
4 to go. 4 cup finals to go.
More.
You guys have been great. Thanks for joining us. The chat was hot today, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. So thanks for joining us, guys. This is the 110 Football Instant Reaction Show in partnership with Adidas. Jen Munoz, Jessica Black, Connor Klopsis. I'm Vince LaRosa. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.